This is the PCB stencil for the unreleased Sega Game Gear 2. No, I'm just joking, it's just a stencil, but it's still pretty cool. Let me show you how to use this thing. So this giant stencil for this tiny board is a different way of soldering. So what we do is apply some solder paste. So this isn't flux and this isn't solder. This is solder in a liquid form. What it allows us to do is spread liquid solder all on these pins, place the components on and simply warm it up to flow everything into place. This is the stencil. So we simply place this PCB behind, apply some paste over here, and then we can assemble this board in a different way. Now I don't typically do solder paste work. I find it easier to just use solder and a hot air gun. But the main reason I also don't is here's some solder paste from a few months ago. And you can see, even if I try to get it out, it's like cement. So it's not meant to be like this, it's meant to be much more liquidous. So what you find you have to do if you're not using it enough is just keep rebuying solder paste. So this is some brand new fresh paste. I'll show you what it should look like. So we can see here, it's much more liquidous. So this is basically solder, tiny balls of solder with flux mixed in. And it's like a paste, hence the name, solder paste. Firstly, thanks again to PCBWay for fully sponsoring this video. They gave me the stencil for free, the PCBs for free, and they're great for producing any circuit boards, especially prototype and low volume ones like these. It helps the customer, I don't have to charge them for the boards, and you guys get to see some new cool stuff. So the first task is to lay this down. We can lay it flat like this, and with the board flipped over, we can move with our hand. So we want to move it around and line up the pads so they fill all of the pads like this. And so long as we haven't moved anything. And what we want to do now is take a little shovel or spatula, place some paste here, and drag down. Scrape off any excess. We don't want to waste this, and just put it back in the tub. Flip over the panel and we'll gently peel this away. We want to try and lift straight up. And there you can see you've now got the perfect amount of solder paste all over the pins that we need to solder. With all that solder paste cleaned up with some IPA, this can now be put aside and used as many times as you like, hundreds of times, when you're assembling this specific PCB. And the final step before soldering is to simply place your components roughly in position. You just pick them up and place them roughly, literally roughly into position. What you'll find is surface tension will pull these into position when it reflows. So I'm purposely going to put some slanted so you can see it pulling into position. You'll notice we obviously can't do the nibs here or the battery springs. It has to be things that lay flat on the circuit board. But the main benefit of this way of soldering is if you're not confident with your soldering. So if the fine pins or the difficult to solder for you, this is the perfect way. It would also be great for people with shaky hands because you don't need to be accurate while positioning. I'm going to use my hot air station, but if you don't own one, a much cheaper option is a hot plate for like £15 off Amazon. And you would literally sit this on the hot plate and turn it up to max. You can see there the resistors starting to flow into position. And see them just pull into perfect position. And look at that. And let me show you that from above on these resistors here. So again, it's low accuracy. You don't need to position them because the surface tension does all the work for you. Some people also find this method even quicker than soldering. So it's definitely got its uses. It also looks pretty cool just watching everything flow into place one at a time. And there we go, that's all them done. And with the conformal coating on and the springs put back, that's all 5 boards for the customer ready. And we've got a cool UV effect showing where all the board is protected from water damage. This conformal coating will prevent any water ingress from causing shorts on these boards. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I'll catch you in the next.